and grow your retirement accounts. Although we will be touching on the stock market and bonds a little bit, the main topic will be on real estate and how it can protect your savings and at the same time generate excellent growth. So that you understand a little bit of my background, I have been a real estate agent for 10 years and spent actually more than 6 figures on my real estate investing education. But my purpose in telling you that is just to convey how seriously I take my financial education. This education and experience has allowed me to successfully invest in real estate, but also to work with investors that have self-directed IRA funds and get them successful as quickly as possible. Even though my formal education is in engineering, what I truly have a passion for is real estate. I don't really consider real estate to be work, and every day I have the privilege of showing people how to eliminate financial stress from their lives and replace it with financial progress. Now, I don't want to mislead anyone. What we're going to be talking about today is not any kind of a get-rich-quick scheme, but it is a get-rich plan. So let's get started.
All right, thank you, Val. Well, what we're going to be talking about tonight, we boil down to 6 points. And the first one, we're going to talk about some myths in investing in relation, as Val mentioned, stocks and bonds, and relating those to real estate investing as well. We're going to talk on some of the benefits for those self-directed IRA opportunities, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, 401ks, all the health savings plans. These we won't go into a lot of detail. The iPlan group can assist with that. We're going to talk some from our perspective on the benefits of self-directed IRAs. We're also going to talk about the process we use when doing real estate investing and how investors, those with self-directed IRAs, can benefit from the process that we utilize in real estate investing. And an important part of that process is the due diligence that the investor does in relation to the borrower of the funds. And so we'll go into some of the detail on that. We have some exciting examples of some of the home renovations we've done up here in the Metro Detroit area, and I look forward to sharing that with you. And then we're just going to go over some points of how to take action. What are some things you can do immediately to learn more and to move forward in that long-term plan that Val mentioned about growing that wealth to be rich?
Okay, since our ideas about money and investing shape our reality, let's talk about some of the myths that are currently out there. If you think investing is difficult or time-consuming or that you have to do it alone, well, that's probably what you'll find. But if you think investing can be fun, can give you absolute certainty about your financial future, and that there are people out there willing to help you, then that's probably what you're going to find. I like to think of the mind as like a single-car garage. To move another car or idea in, first we have to broom out the old one. All right, on screen we have a graph of the stock market. And this goes back 3 months. And one of the ideas out there is that the stock market is the place to invest your money. And on June 19th of this year, the United States Federal Reserve said publicly that they were thinking about discontinuing their $85 billion per month of stimulus for the economy. What they were doing is just seeing how the stock market would react to floating that idea out there. The Federal Reserve did not say that they were definitely cutting off the money, just that they might. Well, the stock market reacted by dropping over 500 points between June 18th and June 20th of this year. You know, this to me shows that the market reacted very strongly and essentially said, we are relying on your intervention, Mr. Federal Reserve. So if you go back over the last 5 years and look at other instances of Federal Reserve intervention, you're going to see the exact same pattern that's on the screen. Government intervention right now is propping up stock market values to some amount, and we really don't know how much longer that can last. The title of this presentation is Growing Your Wealth Safely. So let me address that for a moment. Some people say that right now the only place to get any kind of income is in dividend-producing stocks. I mean, you're not going to get a decent rate of return with bonds right now, right? Bonds don't even keep up with inflation. But the two questions I have when considering the stock market are, number one, how safe is it to buy into the high of a stock market? And then number two, if I do buy dividend-producing stocks right now, how long will these stocks keep paying me dividends? And I don't profess to be a stock market expert. My expertise is in real estate. But to me, the stock market seems fragile right now. And it's rising in a weak economy, in a high-tax environment, and rising in a high unemployment environment. All right, and here's myth number two. This one I think is very, very important to pay attention to. If the price of my mutual fund drops by half, but then goes up by 50%, I'm right back where I started from. So let's take a look at this graph. Let's say that you have an asset that starts out at a value of $40,000. Then let's say that a market crash hits a couple years later, or it just goes down in value, and you lose 50% of the value of that asset. In other words, it's cut in half. If you then make a 50% return on that new value, you've really only made it halfway back to your starting point. And, you know, let's say that this scenario happens over a period of 10 years. That's why they would call it a lost decade. So, you know, the takeaway here to me is just to realize that if you lose 50% of value, you have to make 100% rate of return just to get back to the starting point. I mean, you know, I don't know about anybody else on this call, but when was the last time you doubled any of your investments and made 100% return? To me, this example just shows that keeping your principal safe is just as important as the rate of return, and why it's so important not to go financially backwards in your investments. And I'm certainly not picking on the stock market here, because the above example could happen with any investment. I feel this is one of the most important slides in the presentation because it highlights one of the biggest reasons why people in their 50s and 60s tend to shift their retirement assets into more conservative investments. All right, so here we come to the last myth that I'm going to share, and really it's just going to show an alternative to stocks and bonds. All right, on the screen we have a graph of Oakland County, Michigan, where Nate and I currently live. This graph goes back 10 years. And you can see on the right-hand side what we have is home prices. Essentially, this is just a graph of home prices for Oakland County, Michigan. And since this graph goes back 10 years, and this graph is by Zillow, by the way, you can see the peak of the housing market of Oakland County in 2006. And then once that bubble burst, how it falls and bottoms out in 2011. And then for the past 2 years here in the Metro Detroit area, Oakland County specifically, home prices have been rising. So I don't know if everybody remembers how back in 2008 and 2009, the real estate market was in free fall. Nobody could sell their house. Home builders with inventory got caught by surprise, and new construction went down to nothing. This, I think everybody can agree, this was truly a market crash. But let me give you this example. Let's say that Costco Warehouse was going out of business, and for one day and one day only, you could buy a 60-inch LCD television for $200. You know, if that happens, you would call a friend, borrow him and his pickup truck, and load up on as many televisions as you could carry, because you, number one, knew you were getting a great deal, but also if you wanted to, you could resell them at a higher price. But for most people, when real estate went on sale, it's also called a market crash, people ran away. So, but here are the results for this market crash here in Oakland County. You know, right now, you can buy homes for 50 cents on the dollar, and the homes can be renovated and sold as one exit strategy, or renovated and rented out. But now, rental homes have dropped in price so far that they now have enough cash flow to pay a property manager. You could not have a property manager, or you couldn't afford a property manager if you bought that same house during the 2003 to 2006 years. So you may be thinking, how do I take advantage of home bargains like this? Well, one way is through a self-directed IRA, and the next few slides are going to show some of the mechanics of that. Okay, part of the reason why we're all here today is that we have a basic problem in America. Right now, our 401ks and pensions are not working very well, and to me, the solution is financial education and taking investing matters into your own hands. And the self-directed IRA is a great way to do that. But in order to get the full benefit of a self-directed IRA, you'll have to invest. You'll have the most success in investing in what you know and investing with people that you can trust. Whatever your expertise is in, whether it's the stock market, single-family homes, duplexes, apartment complexes, always invest in what you are familiar with. And to address the second point of item number 1, a little later we're going to be going into more detail about how to work with people you can trust.
Yes, and trust is the key in my mind, Val, in relation to finding unlimited growth and an opportunity when you're investing your retirement funds especially. And when we talk about unlimited growth, we're looking at really two things, and it ties in a lot with tax-free and tax-deferred, which, that's kind of what we've always been told about IRAs, 401ks when we're at work to put your money in. And in relation to tax-free, that's really relating to a Roth IRA and being able to put your money in and to also take it out tax-free. Tax-deferred, as many would be aware, is you put your money in without pre-tax, or it's deducted from your taxable income annually when you make your contribution to the retirement account. And then when you draw the money out at retirement age or pre-retirement age, if you're in a situation you need to deal with that situation, that you are taxed when that money comes out. So that's the difference between tax-free and tax-deferred. But the greatest benefit is the rate of growth you can receive inside of that account during the growth period, when you don't have to take money out to pay those taxes. One of the greatest charts I've ever seen was a financial advisor I've done some work with, and they show the difference. What's the true rate of return when you have a taxable account versus a non-taxable account as those monies are growing? And as that moves forward, it is amazing. And one example of that, of unlimited growth, is, well, Val, why don't you tell us a little bit about the example that you were thinking of the other day?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody is familiar with presidential candidate Mitt Romney. He has a self-directed IRA worth between $30 million and $100 million that he's publicly disclosed. But the maximum that he could have contributed to his self-directed IRA would have been $30,000 per year. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on the math, but he's turned $30,000 contributed over a number of years into a minimum of $30 million. He has amassed a huge fortune in his IRA, and there's no reason why anyone is not able to do that. The point here is just that you're able to, there's no limits on how big your IRA can get. There's no cap or ceiling on the amount of money that you can have in it. And the last point on this slide is that a self-directed IRA is an excellent inflation hedge. Because of the tax benefits, the safety of your principal, the higher rates of return, that's what makes a self-directed IRA work so well in retirement. And by inflation, I just mean the ever-increasing cost of health care, food, and energy. One example I like to think of is, think of inflation as you trying to walk up an escalator that's going down or coming towards you. Financially, you're never going to get anywhere unless you stay ahead of inflation.
All right, so what we want to talk about some now is the process that we use when we're working with a self-directed IRA, and it's specifically an investor's funds in relation to that self-directed IRA in regards to the real estate businesses that Val and I have. And we start first, with locating a property, contacting our private lender, and letting them know that there's an opportunity for them to earn a rate of return with this investment that we're working on. As Val mentioned, that might be an investment that's going to be fixed up and sold to a new homeowner, or it might be an opportunity for an investor to be involved where the house is repaired, fixed up, and then a tenant is put in, and there's cash flow coming out from that property every month. The private lender, one of the most important pieces, in my opinion, and it's not just because I'm an attorney, it's because this is the value of real estate or investing in real estate, are the documents that are involved in securing or collateralizing the loan or the investment that's made on that piece of property. Depending on what state you're in, it could be a mortgage, it could be a trust deed, but we want to make sure whenever we work with an investor that those documents are in place, they were properly recorded in the public records department so that it's there for everybody to know, and that the investor has that safety, has an interest in a real piece of property, a real investment. It's just not paper. There's paper that identifies that piece of real property, and that's what those documents are for. So then once those documents are in place, the home is purchased with the investor's funds, and then we go through the process of rehabbing that property, repairing it, modernizing it, bringing it into a situation that the individuals in the community, whether it be a new homeowner or renter, they desire that property. Make it very desirable for the community that property is currently located. And at that point, we then move forward with the investor. And this, again, are they someone who's wanted to be part of the process where we're putting in a new homeowner? Or are they looking at something that's more long-term, and they want to hold that as a portfolio in their retirement account and receive those monthly cash flows? And so the house either sold or rented, depending on the type of investor we're working with, as we found the house, fix it up, and now we're moving on to the exit strategy. And then where we go? Well, the investor gets paid back their principal and interest, and that can be two ways. The principal can be you get your money back plus the interest when the new homeowner comes in, or you get your principal and interest payments just like the bank gets on their mortgage payments. When I go borrow money from the bank and I start making those monthly mortgage payments, it includes interest and principal. It'd be the same thing if you're buying a cash flow property. And as that rent is being paid, then that the investor, real estate investor, will be paying you back interest and principal on a monthly basis, just like if you're the bank receiving those mortgage payments. So that's just kind of a brief summary of the process. You'll hear some more of the process as we go over some of the examples that we're going to be sharing, and we'll be touching how some of those work in real-life examples as we move forward.
Okay, and just one general comment. We really do encourage questions, so we're looking forward at the end of this to go into more detail on any of these points that we've mentioned so far. Okay, to maximize your self-directed IRA, one of the decisions that you're going to need to make is to choose which kind of investor you are. And the investors that we've worked with, or the private lenders, we found have fit into two general categories. There is the keep the money moving investor who wants the maximum rate of return, and that investor is an active investor. Then there is the set it and forget it investor that still wants a very good return but does not have as much free time to spend on the investment and the paperwork. So let me explain in a little bit more detail about these two categories. The keep the money moving investor, the benefits of that is you get the highest rates of return. I mean, 12% is what we're showing on the screen, but in general it will give you the highest rates of return, and your funds are in play or in the investment for the shortest amount of time, typically 4 to 6 months. The appropriate type of investment would be something short-term, like a flip property, otherwise known as a buy, renovate, and sell. This high rate of return would not work for a rental because there just wouldn't be any cash flow left over. A few of the disadvantages for the keep the money moving investor is that there is a fair amount of paperwork involved. If you are loaning money from your self-directed IRA, at the beginning, there's the typical direction of investment forms, the mortgage, promissory notes, a copy of the homeowner's insurance, which will name your self-directed IRA as the beneficiary. And if you're in a private lender that wants to get into even more detail, there's verifying the after-repaired value on the property that you've loaned on. And if you'd like to visit the property you are loaning on, which we highly encourage, there would be the obvious travel time involved. Then 4 to 6 months later, there are what I call the completion forms, like the mortgage discharge form to fill out and the investment completion forms for iPlan Group. So for the set it and forget it investor, the appropriate type of property would be to loan on or to give funds for a longer-term rental. Think of it like buying a 2 or 3 year or even more certificate of deposit, but just with a much higher interest rate. The downside is it doesn't give you as high of an interest rate as the keep the money moving investor, but the way that our company works, we're able to buy properties low enough that we're now able to pay a bonus interest rate of 12% for the months during the renovation of the property up until the tenants sign a lease, and then 6% thereafter. This is for the investor that does not want to deal with a lot of paperwork. Your loan is still secured by the property, but has the additional advantage of your mortgage payments being backed with tenant rents. So, and in case anybody was wondering, iPlan Group has confirmed that this type of bonus interest rate promissory note is perfectly acceptable to them and for your IRA.
All right, yes, so this sounds, 6%, 12%. How do you choose someone to work with when you're going through the process of finding someone to invest in, a company to invest in this self-directed format, such as a self-directed IRA? I think Donald Trump, said it the best. You can't do a good deal with a bad partner. You can have a good deal with a great partner. No matter how good it looks, if your partner is bad, it's not going to turn out well. So there's several criteria that, in our experience, in my experience as an attorney, real estate broker, and this piece specifically goes amongst all partnerships, all situations of investing, not just real estate. When you're dealing with small businesses, independent owners, and as we've also learned, it's harder to do, but we also be able to do that due diligence even on the public market. And so many times we like the smaller investments ourselves because we can do this due diligence much easier. And so first we want to make sure you can learn about the person and who they are as an individual. And also, what are their business background? What is their profession? Like myself, I'm an attorney, a real estate broker. Val's real estate agent and an engineer. What's that background? Look at their resume. Ask what that is. Ask personal questions about their family and where they're from and how long they've been in the business. What type of businesses have they been in? Is this their first time, their first endeavor? How many transactions have they done? Is it 1, 2, 10, 20, 30? Where have they been? And what is their personality like? Do you like them as a person? Do you feel like you could work with them? Are you excited every time you talk with them and you have a conversation? Those are all very important pieces as you do your due diligence and finding out about the individual. And there's some ideas of how to do that. But most of what I'm saying is talk to them, communicate with them, emails back and forth. And that's how you get to know somebody. Build a relationship. It doesn't have to be a friendship, but build a relationship with the company and the individuals you're looking to work with. And then once that relationship is built, it will need to be backed up with all the proper documents, as we mentioned earlier in the process. You want to verify that you have all the documents with the IRA custodian properly filled out, and everything is good there, and they're able to even help you with that and review those for you. Make sure that your loan is in place, the promissory note. Val mentioned the mortgage or the trustee that I mentioned earlier. To secure that property, make sure that you have the insurance paperwork filled out properly, that they're able to show you the certificate of insurance that shows your IRA as an additional insured party. Sometimes it's also called the beneficiary. So as you look, make sure those things are in place. And so verify those documents. And I recommend asking to see those documents ahead of time so that you can look at them and prepare, be familiar with those before you would even sign all the paperwork. And one important part of verifying, and this is part of verifying the business aspects when we talked about the profession, how many properties they've done, is you want to be able to see that they can show you the values of the property in the area. That's part of our process. When Val and I look at a property, one of the first things we know whether we're getting that good deal, Val mentioned that 50% compared to the high in the market, is we look to see what is happening today currently with other properties that have been fixed up. And so what are they selling for in today's market? And so you want to be able to make sure who you're working with is able to verify that information for you and be able to show you other comparable properties for the area. And that can be boiled down to per square feet, the number of rooms that are in the house, 3 bedrooms, make sure the comparables have 2 baths. You want them to be apples to apples as much as possible. Appraisers are some of the best at doing that. And so one step, it will take some money to do this, but it's highly recommended, especially in the beginning for all parties, is that an appraisal be brought forth. You pay for an appraisal, and that you'll be able to see specifically how they compare properties and make apples to apples when you're comparing properties. And one thing that's important if you're looking to be that set it and forget it investor is that you want to be able to look at the cash flow analysis. You want to be able to see that, as Val mentioned, when that property manager is put in place, which is very important for that type of investment, that you have a nice positive cash flow coming in every month. Once you have everything put in place, you have your insurance being paid, your taxes, your maintenance set aside, and your property manager is getting paid, that you have a nice positive cash flow to work with that. And so that's a recommendation on doing the due diligence. And as Val said, we look forward to any additional questions on this topic when we're able to bring questions. And with that, Val, at this time, I think I'd like to go over a few examples of some properties.
Okay, sounds
We've
great.
done. All right. Well, what I'm going to do is ask Val a couple questions about this one. This is a property in Royal Oak, Michigan. And tell me, Val, how did you find this property?
This property was actually a foreclosure, and it was on the MLS, what realtors call the multiple listing service, and it's a database that only realtors have access to. At least initially, Realtor.com is a good shadow system of the MLS. But because I've got a lot of good relationships with local realtors, and once the realtor, the listing agent for this particular property, I reminded him that my offer that I had in to him was for cash, and that if his initial buyer that he was working with fell through, then I could close quickly and close with cash. And a lot of times that's what happens on these properties. In order to get them at a really, really low price, initially realtors don't accept I'll be honest with you, my crappy low offer. They will try working with somebody else, that somebody else has property with financing, and then they end up taking my offer because we can close quickly.
All right, so you're able to get that offer in there. Well, another question for you, as you made that offer, you put that low offer in that you mentioned, what made this a good investment? What were the aspects that made this a good investment?
Well, immediately when I look at a property, I have to decide very quickly either to renovate it and sell it or keep it as a long-term rental. And after doing a quick financial analysis, this property was in just essentially too nice of a neighborhood in Royal Oak, and the finances wouldn't work for long-term rental, but it would work as a buy, fix, and sell. And that's exactly what we did with this property. We renovated it and then sold it to a homeowner. The second thing about when examining a property, and this one in particular, it had the right things wrong with it. In other words, it just needed mostly cosmetic updating and had no structural issues.
I see on this that borrowed $150,000 from a private lender, and that lender received a $6,000 payment for their investment of $150,000. That's a great opportunity. What was the time period for this, and what was what do you think added the greatest value when you worked on the home?
Yeah, this was a little bigger project, so it did take us a little over 5 months to complete from when we had it bought, renovated, and then sold, and then had the private lender fully paid off. But the second part of your question, definitely the addition of the master suite. With this particular house, we took the fourth bedroom and we converted that to a master bath and a new walk-in closet. And by doing that, we spent $7,000 to do that, but increased the after-repaired value by $15,000. You know, anytime you can spend $1 and get $2 in return, that's exactly what you want to do. So I knew the moment that I looked at this house that there was hidden value that we could tap into.
All right, and again, the investor made $6,000 on their $150,000 investment in that 5.5 months. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
One more here for you, Val, to look at. This is in Madison Heights, Michigan. It was bought for the $45,000. It rented for $1,200, and we can see there what some of the investments were. What attracted the private lender to this property that you worked with, the one that gave you the $70,000 for this property?
Well, two things with this property: trust and walking the new investor through the entire private lending process. This transaction actually was the private lender's first out of their self-directed IRA. And part of the way that I built up a relationship with this particular investor was by showing them other properties that I had in various stages of renovation. This was one of 4 properties I was working on, and we were able to do walkthroughs on some of the other ones so that he could see what kind of work that we did.
Wow. Very good. And, walk to the property. It's something you mentioned earlier, but that is something we encourage. And so what is it about this property that makes it a good cash flow property? I see that you it's a private lender getting 12%, and it's rented for $1,200.
Yeah, yep. With this particular property, we had high rental demand for it, and as well as a low purchase price. This one, because the amount that I budgeted for repairs came in actually under budget, so we decided to actually put granite and stainless in the kitchen, and this caused a very high rental demand. My property manager had indicated that this was a very, very easy one to rent. You can see by the pictures why. It's also in a good location. Madison Heights is a good location here in the Metro Detroit area, and this has been one of my most successful rentals.
All right, I think we have one more here to look at, and this is an exciting one from my perspective, Val, and we'll get into that here in a minute. Why? This is in Oak Park, Michigan, and tell me some about the community and how you were able to get this house for such a low number, $50,000. That's a low number for our area.
Yeah, this house was actually acquired by a short sale. I did have to wait approximately 6 months for this transaction to close after I put my original offer on it. But as you said, this house is in a really good area. It has Berkeley schools, which are considered very good in this area, and is a big reason why this house rented in only 9 days. And because of that, again, my property manager keeps asking me, when am I going to have more houses like this, because I'm making life easy for them. I know I keep mentioning it, but location still holds true. You always want to buy the best real estate in the best areas, but ones that will still cash flow.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, here's a little bit of the inside of that, and not much was done on this because you mentioned it was a short sale. Someone was living in it.
Yes.
Until the time that you purchased it, I understand. And so tell me what's unique about this one and why it's so exciting from the perspective as we sit here today.
Okay. Well, just again, from the pictures, the only thing that we did was replace a little bit of the trim in front of the refrigerator, and we changed out the kitchen flooring, and that was it. Same appliances, same cabinets. There really wasn't a lot to do with this property. But one of the reasons why I really like this property is that two investors are going to benefit. There's the initial investor that loaned me the money out of his self-directed IRA to purchase and renovate the house, and then there is a second investor that I'm in process with a sale of this property to, and she wants to purchase this rental property because it's a turnkey rental. It already has tenants in it. It already has a property manager in place. So she's able to just come in, purchase it, and not have to fix it, not have to find tenants, not have to keep up with any of the maintenance.
What you're saying is with one property, you can meet the demands of two types of investors. One who wants to keep their money moving, and then once that property is done, it can then be turned over to a second investor who can hold that money for cash flow and have that money just come back into their account on a monthly basis.
Exactly.
That's very exciting. That's part of the benefit of having that real investment of real estate. There's multiple opportunities there for doing that.
Right. And one thing I did want to mention on the examples that we just showed, these are all very recent examples. These are all current examples that are very reflective of what our market is doing right now.
All right. So how do you take action? How do you have opportunities and find these opportunities like this? And we're going to just give you some ideas right now of what that would entail and some recommendations, things that we've done ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, I think we're to another series of some very important slides here because you know, you must act on some of these suggestions, and we have a few slides which are going to show some of the most impactful and beneficial slides that really don't take a lot of effort, but will help with your financial education and help with your investing. And you know, the example I give for this particular slide is, you know, Nate, I don't know about you, but I've never had a great deal on a house or any other investment come up to my front door, knock, and present itself and say, here I am. You know, you must take action.
Yes, I agree with you. It takes a lot of work.
Okay, for those without a self-directed IRA, I really think the first thing to do is to call the iPlan group. They have really good people there that can help answer your questions and give you some of the benefits of some of their different types of IRAs. You know, it's not the subject of this webinar, but there are health savings accounts called HSAs, you know, as an example, that will help you stay ahead of medical expenses. And for those of you that already have a self-directed IRA, if you have any specific questions, then again, a call to the iPlan group is going to be very beneficial. They should be considered your, you know, essential members of your team, as well as, you know, other people that you might be working with who are finding, you know, investments for you. And to address the third item on the slide, the person that said that you can't get anything for free never lived in the information age. There are excellent webinars available on iPlan Group's website.
That's true. I mean, that opportunity might not come up to your door to knock to say, here I am. But there's a lot of information out there that we can teach ourselves and learn from others as they share their knowledge and information. And one thing you can do is meeting that's in your local area. And how do you find out about that? What I first did the first time I heard about that recommendation, I just typed in the Detroit, Michigan Real Estate Investors Associations, and it came up with quite a handful. I happened to be in a more highly populated area, so there were quite a few to choose from. I think I ended up visiting every single one at some point and found one or two that I seemed to click with the best. Even if you're not in a highly populated area, there will be investors who are getting together with real estate. Even if you have to drive a little ways, it's well worth it. You're going to be able to learn things, continue that education, and for real estate investing. Highly recommended. An action you can take right away is go right away. When we're done here tonight, one of the things you can do is go online and do that Google search. The other thing that you're able to do is once you start getting education, start bringing together some friends and family that you trust and talk about investing. I know it's not specifically listed here, but one thing that I do, I have a group, we get together and we play Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. That's kind of a reason for us to get together and talk. It's something that is fun, enjoyable. You'll learn at the same time. It's an investment education. It includes a lot of real estate, includes other investments as well. But find something that you can connect with and get together on a monthly basis. And I do recommend monthly. Every now and then isn't the same. You can choose one night a month, one morning a month, whatever that is. Make it consistent. And that's what's going to allow you to continue to raise the level for your investing. And by doing that, you're just going to continue increasing your financial education. And there will be real estate investing classes. I just got a flyer from a local community college in the mail just this past week. And in there were several classes on real estate investing right there given free of charge at the local community college. And so there's all kinds of opportunities out there. Just, again, you can look to see what's available. Community colleges are a good one. Real estate investor associations at times have classes related to real estate investing. And just continue to get financial education. I can't stress it enough.
Okay, for the next slide here, we're getting close to the end of the presentation. CPI stands for Consumer Price Index, and it's just a measure of inflation that's put out by the United States government. If you Google CPI calculator and just play around with it, type in some different years, you'll really get a handle for how much of an impact inflation is and what inflation has historically done. Does everybody remember the Oakland County, Michigan Zillow slide that we had in the myth section? If you want to duplicate that slide or even duplicate what's been happening for the last 10 years for your particular area, just follow the on-screen instructions, and you'll be able to know home price appreciation rates for that particular zip code. So if anyone wants to buy a vacation home in Hawaii and they don't happen to live there, that's a great way to investigate what home prices have been doing in Hawaii. And the last action item here will tell you the whole story of what happened in 2006 for United States home prices. But when you do item 9 here and you bring up that graph, look at the housing bubbles that burst in 1979 and 1989. If you bought after those markets bottomed out, you made easy real estate money. One of my favorite quotes is, "History is a catalog of solutions, and the farther backward you can look, the farther forward you are likely to see."
All right, research, education, that is the key. And, we just want to open up ourselves, to you, even after this call. You're welcome to contact us with any additional questions you might have. We're happy to answer them. And our contact information is available. You can always contact the iPlan group and Derek in relation to that. And regards to what we do to renovate and sell and rent properties, how we find them. We're just excited and passionate about what we do here in the Metro Detroit area. We know what happens around the country and even around the world in relation to buying, fixing, selling, renting residential real estate. So Derek, we thank you so much, and we're going to hand this back to you.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, guys. That was a ton of great information. It's always good when people can bring everything back around to self-directed investing. A lot of the times with our calls, we get so far down one route, we very rarely ever get it back to self-directed IRAs. So it was great that we could kind of center everything around that. And again, I can't echo more what they were saying about the local real estate groups. At iPlan Group, we are located in Westlake, Ohio, so we try our best to hit as many real estate investment associations in the tri-state area. So we go everywhere to Pittsburgh, Erie, PA, and then up into Detroit as well. If you are in the Detroit area, I would definitely try to make it to the Detroit RIA that we met everybody at. Wendy Patton is who hosts that. She's phenomenal with presentations, and they really do run their group great. So we were lucky to be there. This is how we made a connection, and that's what those groups are all about, is networking and finding good partners and relationships. So thanks again, everybody. And so we do have a bunch of questions that came through. Susie's on the line as well. She is one of our IRA strategists. A lot of these questions are centered around self-directed IRAs. So Nate, Val, I know you guys have a lot of information about these two, about self-directed IRAs as well. So I'll throw the question out to you guys, and if you want to defer to Susie, feel free. She's on the call, and she can pick it up wherever you go. So the first one is one of the questions we hear all the time when we start talking about self-directed IRAs. Can I use my self-directed IRA to fund my own real estate investments? For example, buy, fix, sell, flip, tax liens, and deeds.
I would say, there's the attorney talking here. I'll let Susie answer that directly. But in relation to can you do this on your own, there are rules and regulations. So yes, that's what self-directing investing is about, being able to choose investments that you have control over and which ones to do. There's always restrictions whenever the government gives us a benefit. There's always restrictions that we have to pay attention to. But I think Susie can probably give some specifics on that.
Yeah, and Susie. And Susie, while you're going through that, we also had a question of if you could just kind of explain the process of how somebody would invest with their self-directed IRA, or if they were working with an investor who was using their self-directed IRA. So kind of the basics, and then how we would go about investing with one.
Sure, absolutely. Basically, when it comes to investing with your self-directed IRA, within the IRS rules and regulations, there are specific guidelines that you have to follow, which actually state that you personally are disqualified from your own IRA, meaning you have to stay arm's length from any investment within your IRA. So you cannot actually use your IRA funds to buy property if you have the intent on personally living there while the property is still owned by your IRA. You also cannot use it as a personal vacation property, and you cannot rent it out or allow any disqualified individuals to live there. And a disqualified person would be yourself, your spouse, anybody related to you through linear descent, any fiduciary of your IRA, and sometimes beneficiaries. In regards to the process, it's really quite simple. It very much follows the regular process of purchasing real estate with, your own personal funds. Basically, you go and you personally are going to choose what property you want to buy, whether or not you're going to do a down payment, how much you're going to put the offer in, whether or not you're going to buy it outright in cash, or if you're going to partner with somebody, or if you're going to take on a loan to do so, or even if you just want to loan money to somebody else to buy a property. Once you've determined all of the basic different aspects of how you're going to be purchasing this property or loaning the money, at that point you can go ahead and contact us and request that we send any funds out, and we would fund the property and basically sign all of the closing documents on behalf of your IRA. When it comes to the actual offer and the purchase agreement and any addendums that go along with the purchase agreement, you can sign those on behalf of your IRA. It's just the closing documents that you want to make sure are sent to us prior to the closing so that we can sign it on behalf of your IRA, because some of those documents do tend to be recordable documents, and you don't want anything recorded with your personal signature on it because, again, you want to reflect that you are staying arm's length from your IRA. But once your IRA buys the property, it's really simple. If you need any funds to, fix up the property, if you're going to be rehabbing it, if you need to hire a plumber, anything like that, even if you have to, hire a boy down the street to mow the lawn, all you have to do is contact us. There's a really simple, one-page form that you have to fill out telling us who to pay and if you want us to make a check out to them or mail the check to you made out to them, or we can send a wire or a cashier's check and then we send it out and it gets cashed, and then you can use those funds, to pay those individuals or to purchase anything that you need to purchase for the property, whether it's a fridge or tiles or whatever it may be. And then once you sell the property, all of the funds flow back into your IRA, unless, of course, you took on a loan to do so. You would pay off the loan first, and then the remainder would go into your IRA. If you partnered with somebody to buy the property, then the profits would basically be split and paid back to each partner based on their percentage of ownership. And when it comes to partnering to buy property, you can partner with anybody, even if they're not disqualified from your IRA. So you can partner your IRA with your own personal funds, your wife, your son, your own company, a friend of yours, whoever it may be. So that's a really good option as well.
Awesome. And to add to that, if any of our investors are not sure about which form to fill out, how to fill out the form, at iPlan Group we really pride ourselves on walking through every one of our customers through whatever process they're going through. We'll even help fill out every single form that you need. So we really don't just throw you out there and let you fill out things incorrectly, because we know that leads to more time, which leads to deals not closing on time, which is one thing that we work hard to prevent on a daily basis. So, Susie, could you just let everybody know how long it takes to set up a self-directed IRA with iPlan?
Yeah, absolutely. Our processing time frame is actually quite fast. It's much better personally, I think, than a lot of the other IRA custodians out there. When you send us your application and a copy of your driver's license, it typically just takes us 1 business day to actually establish the account and send your transfer form to the other IRA company to bring the funds over. The only time we wouldn't get it done within 1 business day is if it's received really late at night, or if there are any deficiencies on the form. If there are any deficiencies, we contact you immediately to let you know. That way we can get it done fast. We were formed by investors for investors, so we understand the urgency of each investment. All of our employees are currently investing in different basically areas because we do enjoy investing. So we understand what you're going through, and we're going to be there to help you step by step, especially because when it comes to an IRA investment, not a lot of people are familiar with it. So we're going to be there to hold your hand and make sure that you and anybody else that's involved, like a title agency, a realtor, an attorney, we'll make sure they understand too. We'll conference call them with you. We'll communicate via email. And not only that, but when you establish an IRA account with us, you're given an actual service team of 2 individuals. You'll know their first and last name, their direct phone number, direct extension, and direct email address, and they are going to be the ones that always work with you. They're going to answer any questions that you have, help you fill out the paperwork for you. They're going to review the paperwork when you send it back, and they're the ones that are cutting the checks. So you don't have to worry about dealing with call centers, people that aren't educated, people that don't invest and don't understand the way it works. You're always going to be dealing with the same 2 people that are going to be there for you no matter what. You can reach them immediately. So it's really nice. It's very convenient, and the same thing goes for investments. Our processing time frame is 1 business day. Bill payments, if you need us to pay a bill or if you need to take a distribution or make a contribution, all of our processing time frames are 1 business day, and we do not charge an extra fee for that.
Yeah, I'd like to add, Susie, a little bit to what you said. The other thing that Nate and I do for our private lenders is that, believe me, it's in our best interest to assist the private lender, the person that we're borrowing money from, to get those forms in and to make sure that money is there in time for a closing or whatever the case may be. Believe me, you don't get the best real estate deals in slow motion. They happen quickly because the best real estate deals are gone in a day or 2. So we're going to be, us as the borrower, us as the people that are using those funds, we're going to be there to help also.
Exactly. We make a nice little team. It works out.
Yep, and that's the whole goal, is to surround yourself by people that are going to make your life easier and make sure that things get done on time. And at iPlan, that's what our goal is on a daily basis. Again, like Susie said, everybody that works here is actively investing in one thing or another. So people are running around all day talking investments and not only helping each other, but also helping our clients. So I do have a question now to send over to Val and Nate. So how can a beginner investor become more familiar with the documents used when working with private lenders? Is there a way to get access to examples of some of these documents?
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason why I like working with private lenders or people who have self-directed IRAs is that there is a lot to learn in the beginning, or maybe not learn is the right word, but a lot to get familiar with. And part of it is those documents. we're able to send copies of those documents, ahead of time that the person can review, and also we could get into more details of an example from start to finish. It's outside the scope of this call, but we could go through an example from start to finish and get into some of the details and what's happening between the seller of the property with the private lender with this IRA, and what's happening with us as the borrower, and get into roles and responsibilities so that the private lender has an overall understanding of not just the process but also the documents.
And I'll chime in on here as well. You definitely can review them. The first one is called a promissory note. The second one is called a mortgage. And those are the two primary documents that we use here locally. So that you literally could just Google those, say promissory note related to real estate, mortgage document, and it'll give you something to review and to at least kind of get an idea of what they say. However, it's only going to be as good as what you find on the internet. Ideally, the investor you're working with, that will be the one you'll want to get to know and understand that document. And as always, I'm an attorney, not giving legal advice here on this call, but at the same time, I'd recommend that you do have those items reviewed by an attorney, by a professional, to make sure that your interest is covered properly. Always recommended in every situation. And many times they have examples you can review as you want to learn more.
Yeah, and let me just add one more thing there. I think I just thought of a really simple example to differentiate between the mortgage and the promissory note. Let's say that you borrow $20 from your friend, and you say that you're going to pay that $20 back, a week from now, and you write that on a napkin. You've just created a promissory note. Now let's say that you take another napkin and you say that, in addition to the napkin that had 3 payment terms, on this second napkin you write that, that the wristwatch that you're wearing will now be collateral for that $20. Now you've just essentially created a mortgage. So the difference between a promissory note and a mortgage is the promissory note addresses the debt and the aspects of the debt, and the mortgage addresses the lien, or it's what collateralizes the promissory note.
Great. So that's awesome. So I'm looking over these questions here, and I'm assuming that some of these terms are coming from some of the courses that you guys had done. So the first one is, how does the set it and forget it investor get their return on investment?
Yep. For that, let's take the example of, the set it and forget it investor. I like to visualize as the investor that wants more of a long-term, loan on their money, and that's really more appropriate for a rental. So let's say that, as an example, that we find a property that in a suitable area in high rental demand that we see for sale, and we talk to the private lender and say, we have this opportunity here. It's going to be, just to make the math easy, $100,000 for the purchase price, and we'll give you 12%, again, to make the math easy, 12% for 6 months until we get the property renovated, and then we're going to, that promissory note is going to go down to 6% for the remaining 6 months of that year, and then it'll still be 6% for year 2, year 3, year 4. So in that case, your rate of return is 9% because you take the 12 and the 6 and you average them. It's going to be 9% for the first year, and then 6% for year 2, year 3, year 4. Does that kind of answer the question, how you get the return? And then there can be like quarterly payments to that investor for the interest, or they can be monthly payments. We kind of get into those details for each particular investor.
Awesome. So there's 2 more that are following up on that. How does the keep the money moving investor get their ROI?
Yep. For that example, you know, the type of investment would be a shorter-term investment for like 4 to 6 months. That's where we've identified the property that that is more appropriately, that's more of a buy, fix, and sell, or a renovation, or what you see on you know, a lot of the shows on HGTV of Flip This House. And in that case, we would borrow the purchase price and repair money, and let's say that that's $100,000. And then it would take us probably 2 months to fix up the house, and then another 2 months to sell it. And at the end of that time period, you know, 4 months, we would be paying back the principal and the interest to that investor. Or if the investor feels more comfortable with monthly interest payments, we can do that too. But I'm just saying, to keep the bookkeeping real easy for everybody, it's easier just to pay it all at the end. But in that case, at a 12% interest rate, which equals 1% per month on $100,000, so that investor would get paid $100,000 for the principal at the end of 4 months, and then they'd get paid $4,000 if the time period went the full 4 months, or if it went, let's say if it was a larger rehab or renovation, if it went 6 months, then that investor would get their principal of $100,000 back, and then $6,000. Again, 1% each month. It makes the math really easy when you do 12% per year.
Alrighty, and so what was the interest rate paid to the purchase? Okay, starting over. Was the interest rate paid to the purchase money lender an annual rate, or the rate regardless of how long the loan was open?
Yeah, it's always paid at an annual rate. So when we say, you know, in order for you to compare different investments, whether it's stocks or gold and silver or real estate, you know, percentage rate is always done on an annualized basis. So when you see the numbers 6% and 12% in the presentation here, it means per year, and you just have to divide it out for how many months you're lending that money for. So for a buy, renovate, and sell that only takes 6 months, that investor is earning 12% per year, or 6% total, because the money was only used for 6 months.
But as soon as they put it into the next property for the next 6-month project, then again they earn that same 12%. At the end of the year, they would have earned 12% out of 2 projects.
Right, and we're not trying to say that one type of investor is better or worse, you know, the set it and forget it investor or the keep the money moving investor. We're just trying to let people know that they may want to choose one that better fits themselves for how quickly they're trying to grow their IRA, but also how much effort or time they want to put into it, because that is the trade-off. You know, if you're trying to earn more interest, then there will be that trade-off with, you know, you just have to do a little bit extra work.
Awesome. Well, it looks like our questions have started to slow up here. So if anybody has any remaining questions, feel free to send those on over, and we'll make sure to address it right now. But I do want to say thank you to both of you. This was a very, very good webinar for us, and not only for at iPlan to kind of get more of our self-directed IRA information out there, but also for everybody just how to get involved in real estate and to start earning some returns that they can be really happy with. So I put up our welcome screen again so that you can have Val's information is on there, and I'm sure that he can point you in Nate's direction as well. If you have any questions about self-directed IRAs, we are offering free 30-minute calls with our self-directed IRA strategists, just like Susie. You can visit us and you can schedule it for yourself at iplangroup.com/strategy. We have a calendar on there that will link up right with one of our strategists and pencil you in whenever works for you, and they will give you a call and walk you through any questions that you have. And the information doesn't stop there. So we don't offer just the free informational strategy sessions to get you into a customer. But once you're a customer, we're also here to help you through every single investment that you go through. And we do want to help you, and we're happy to do that. So it looks like we have the questions have slowed up here. So again, just want to say thank you to everybody who hopped on the call this evening and spent a little time with us. We hope to see you next week. And Val and Nate, again, appreciate your time this evening. I know everybody got a lot out of that, and we look forward to seeing you on another call in the future.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Thanks, Susie, and thank you, everyone who participated in the webinar.
And everybody,
Thank you. Hope everybody has a good night.
And make sure if you do want a copy of this, go ahead and send an email to invest@iplangroup.com, and we'll make sure to send you a link where you can download a copy of this directly to your computer so you can check it out whenever you want. And again, have a good evening from everybody on the call from iPlan and from Val and Nate. Have a good evening. Bye.